Or of Advent of Code. I'll be live coding the solution in Liquid Haskell, which is Haskell augmented with refined types. So one of the things yesterday I did not manage to do was prove that this value of the character, the priority function for the L's rucksack items, was correct. And the problem was I couldn't figure out how to put a character into a specification, a character value, literal into specification. So I found this, which works. So we can tell it works because if I introduce the off by one error, then Liquid Haskell yells at me and says I can't prove that these things that you said were true are true. I wish it gave a better message about which one of them wasn't true, but you know, they're awful. But you know, it does what it says it should. I had asked about this on the where is it? Had asked about this on the Liquid Haskell Slack, and one of the creators gave me this message I'm not sure I understand yet. But what he says is we can use the inline mechanism to hoist non-recursive Haskell functions up into the spec level. And that's useful because so all the things I wrote as sort of long specifications could instead be functions as long as they're non-recursive. And the requirement is not as strict as them being measures. So he provided this example where we can just check that the value it was what another function tells us it should be. Although this is not quite correct because I was only testing a subset of the cases in my specification. But you know, he shows here like how to put in a placeholder type char that is a string of length 1. And that's what value of char takes. So I had given my solution. I'm not sure of the relative strengths of this versus the way he did it, but we'll get set up for the today's solution here. Create a new directory. Hello, welcome. I had factored all the code in the Haskell code to take a file name on the command line and read it and split into lines into this library function. So our boilerplate for new day looks like that. I'm gonna change the package definition so that we only compile that one. Yeah, so I did F-star last year. I wanted to try something new. I've been using Advent of Code to experiment with different programming languages. My boss Gene had sort of suggested Liquid Haskell to me. One of the advantages it has is that the type system is actually decidable, so you have less problems with F-star. Like I had an F-star with the solver goes off and it doesn't provide a clear answer, it just runs out of time. Well, do you give it more time, or do you give it more gas, or do you have to fix your proof? And usually you have to fix your proof. So Liquid Haskell's specification language is actually better behaved. We'll see whether that actually leads to, so, I've been able to write better proofs for the first 3 days, and I think that's working. I'd considered other things. I'd considered Daphne, which another coworker had recommended. I considered creating my own domain-specific language for solving advent of code problems, and I ran out of time. So I'm trying it out. All right, I think we should be. Yes, we're up. I did want to mention I'm putting all my solutions up on GitHub, so you can follow along there. I'm mgritter on GitHub. You can follow me on Twitter at markgritter or on Mastodon at markgritter at mastodon.xyz. So I believe I have those linked in the stream details. All right. Oh, great. So I'm not sure whether Liquid Haskell has any actual industry use. One of the things that attracted me to SDAR is I knew the team at Microsoft was very focused on can we extract production code from it. And I just don't know whether there's somebody trying to use Liquid Haskell for a lot of that. I see a lot of research papers built on it. Like I mentioned, my CEO Gene Yang talked about it and is on a couple of those research papers, but I haven't seen the production use cases. I'd be really interested to hear about that. But, all right. So we just have to parse the numbers and say how many assignment pairs does one range fully contain the other. All right, so I have written this logic several times. The question is, can I get it right under pressure, and can I do the parsing? So let's grab the example that they gave us. So I'm wondering whether today's the day I'm gonna start using parsec, or whether I can just split strings up. There's a split at function, right? Oh no, that's about the number. That's what we're going to do yesterday. Split one of. That looks right. Then we have to convert them to. Sure, we should be able to do this. All right, so let's so downside of not having a lot of time to prepare this year is I'm really bad at Haskell, and I even the basic. So I used Haskell a few years ago, and did not get all the way to the end, but most of that has is that how we do it? Type alias? Yeah. All right, so split. Oh, is this another package? I have to. All right, is which means we need to add it to our Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. All right. So we're gonna split one of comma. All right. So if length of s is not equal to 4, then nothing. There's got to be a better way to do this. Can I? Right, I could map read over it to turn them all into integers. But then how do I massage that into a pair of pairs? Will this work? Read S in A, B, C, D. All right. FlyMake is not running. All right. Start. I don't have nearly this much problem with Go mode. And it's syntax checking. All right, disabling backend Dante FlyMake because file missing opening directory. Oh, because it couldn't open the file directory. All right, so there's got to be a better way to do that, but I don't know. Yes. Okay. All right. So I did that in. I think I needed to get. No, FlyMac should be using stack GHC. All right, now I've wasted enough time getting this work that some people have solved the problem already, I'm pretty sure. All right, now it's telling me how I screwed up. Oh, all right, so this needs to be an actual list, not a tuple. Yeah, that needs to be a just. All right. X. There we go. Great. We don't want overlap, we want complete containment. So hello? It's not gonna cause me headaches for part 2. Good. I don't know whether I should do both directions, but let's just do one direction. All right. So this is true if S1 is so this start has to be less than or equal to the other start, and the end has to have the opposite relationship. So since this is a sort of thing I'm likely to screw up, I should either write some unit tests or a specification. So what can we do for our specification that is not just repeating our buggy definition? Well, we could come up with some test cases. That would be fine. We could in F star we could say like for all, but one of the ways in which liquid Haskell is simpler is we don't get that sort of quantification. So what I'd like to say is every number between S2 and E2 is also between S1 and E1. Okay, so why don't we do that as a separate function, one we won't actually use. So this will take arrange in its and a bool. So what I'm thinking here, I got a confusing answer on this Slack channel. So I did solve it, and then I got a, oh well, that doesn't really work. So yes, I was close. I had tried capital L lit first. I don't think I did that on stream. I think I did that afterwards. So yes, I got little characters like this, and then on the Slack I got an answer about, oh well, that doesn't really work, but it worked for me. So the thing I learned is you can actually inline non-recursive functions into the specification language, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to say inline. So now I can use contains in the specification, and I'm going to do it in this function. So we're going to take our two ranges, and we're going to take the number, and that number has to be within y. So we're going to take n in integers such that n, so that the first of y is less than or equal to n, and n is less than or equal to second of x. Right, so that, if we translate it into logic, that says for all integers within the range y, and then what we want to say is they are also within the range x. So we will say that is it's a bool. All right, so what we're going to do is just that's our definition. And so we should define an inner range function because we did that twice. Wow, that's a very complicated error. Better take a look at that one. Oh, I didn't see it. That is very odd. I'm going to copy that into my documentation of errors and what do they mean, although I don't know what it is. So I'm wondering whether it's wondering if it's a problem with unpacking the pair here. So let's put that on hold a second. Let's say outer inner. Why doesn't it know first? That's it's right there. It's a measure. So I ran into that with split one of, or at least I knew, but you know, first and second should just be in the base, and I am including the base, or things would not work at all. Well, I could define my own. It'd be kind of silly, but yeah, all right. I mean, so if you don't give any specification for contains or don't inline it, then we can't prove anything about it. All right. I should create a key binding for those because I keep screwing them up. All right, I just want to make sure that it's not the presence of this that is screwing it up. Okay, good. So it is. I mean, it's not really good. Unbound symbol main dot start. Oh, inline, yes, thank you. Well, now we push the problem with tuples all the way up. Wow. Okay, so I can make these measures. All right, better. All right, now it's giving me something that I think actually makes sense. All right, so it says, oh, that. So it returns true if and only if I get all my so what it knows is that so the extra int is, so what I'm trying to do is prove something by iterating over all ints that it's true, but we can't actually iterate. I'm trying to simulate a for all the integers in range y. All right, and I did a typo. No, still not happy. So I'm saying, you know, whatever n is, it's got to be something in the range y. So it inferred start x is less than start y, and y is less than x. Great, that's what we have from contains. It says the required type is start x less than a and a less than equal to n. Great, yes. And $a, question A is of the type start y. So I don't understand why the solver can't put these two together. It seems like we have this and it's bounded by y. And so start x is less than start y is less than a, should give us main start x less than or equal to a. And on the other direction, a is less than main end, y, that's less than main end of x, therefore a should be less. So I don't know what we can do here. So we can look at the .liquid directory. Contains all sorts of interesting stuff. So one of them is the thing it's giving to the SMT solver. And so one of these will correspond to the check that's failing, but they're all obfuscated with, you know, unique names that makes this hard to work with. It's actually harder to interpret this than the F star output. The other thing it does, which I found yesterday, is it outputs a nice pre-printed HTML version, and you can mouse over that to see inferred types. But that doesn't really help us. Oh, okay. All right. So this is too restrictive. It's an if and only if, and it should only be one direction. So I think so. Right, we could give overlapping ranges, and contains would be false, but this could, the specification could be true for some n. All right, so we want to say if contains is true, then all n is between start and end as well. And that type checked. Hurrah! All right, so I'm going to leave a comment to myself so I remember what I did here. All n, if n is in the range y, then whenever then x should be in the n should be all right. So we didn't specify contains, but we wrote another function that I think shows that it's correct. So let's all right. Let's pop back up the stack to what we were actually asked to do. Count how many one fully contains the other. Does that prove the reverse too? I'm not sure what you mean. This is just one direction, so I'm going to use it with both ranges flipped around. That was my plan anyway. Filter. All right, I'm just going to write filter. I could have done that as a where. I haven't really got into that habit of defining these utility functions using where. That seems to be more idiomatic for Haskell. All right, so we need to fix up the maybes. I'm just going to drop them on the floor with my favorite maybe function, which I'm going to look at. Map. All right, no, that's not appropriate. There was another function in the same cat maybes. Okay, let's try it out on why did Fly make crap out on me again? Oh, all right. So this needs to look like this. All right. What? All right. I'm looking up the mode I'm using. Dante restart. Let's try that. All right. Liquid Haskell's yelling at me about the incomplete type. The incomplete match, but so Liquid Haskell should know that it's a list of length 4. All right. So we're gonna say has to be a list of ints of length 4. Why don't we go all the way here to Right. The pattern matches are non-exhaustive, but they cover all lists of length 4. No, what's going on here? No, thank you. There we go. Oh, because I only edited in one place. Else just list for 2 ranges of map. Map read. All right, here we go. This was probably our original problem, is the wrong variable. There. Yeah, so now that was unnecessarily confusing. All right, so now I'm checking, I shouldn't have called it X. That's where I went wrong, is not naming it something that said it's a list. All right, yeah, before I was looking at S, and so it didn't know that the list was the right size. So maybe the original code would have worked. But Haskell says this is not exhaustive, but I believe Liquid Haskell should now compile. Yep. Two. All right. Let's. Let's try that out. All right. Now we need to find overlaps. Not surprising. All right, so I have to recreate the reasoning. And this is from the basis of our proof too. So if they have something in common, then start x less than the common element less than end x, and start y is less than equal to common element less than equal to end y. Therefore, start x is less than or equal to no, that's the wrong way. Then, well, they're symmetric, so it should be fine. Right, start while s and c less than end x. And it goes the other way too. If this is true, then we can find some c. I don't feel like I've got this right. Like I said, I've written this a few times. I've usually had to run through this to convince myself it's true or look up the answer on the internet. Any endpoint is in the other range. Yes. That is a good specification, and I believe the implementation can be simpler. So we will we'll write our proof. I can even look at this up in the work code from the last time I'd done it. All right, let's do the whole same trick here. We take an unnecessary parameter, and all we get from that parameter is basically its type. So we want, if there's an endpoint in both ranges, I called that endpoint C up above. Let me do that here. So I thought there was a type. don't know what qualif does yet. Alright, I'll just do it the old-fashioned way. Somewhere in the prelude there should be the type of booleans that are strictly true. Alright, it looks like it type checked. Right, so the more complicated check here is actually equal to the simpler check here. That whenever we could provide such an integer, then overlaps must return true. This only proves one direction though. That's what I'm worried about. So this proves, this could be satisfied by overlap always returning true. So what would a specification that could return? All right. So yeah, we'll just let's use the specification Nerf suggested. So if any endpoint is in the other range. Oh, phooey. All right, so what we want is to prove that this simpler function returns exactly the same result. So we don't want to inline, we want to say it's a specification. over a long all right, can't prove it. So I screwed up. So I mean, just because I've been running it in production code doesn't mean it's correct. Oh, all right. We need to do two comparisons. We need both ways. All right. Yeah, I was. Start x less than ny and start y. Nope. Liquid Haskell does not believe me. Start x. No, it needs to be and, because if it was only one, then start x could be way off to the left and satisfy just the first condition. Start x and start and end x could be way off to the left, which I should have remembered. But I double check here. I start and y between that. Start x in y or end x. Well, I mean, I could just go with the longer version. Are our ranges are inclusive, right? Yes. All right, like everybody else who doesn't already know the answer, this is the thing I looked at before. Start A, let's equal and B, and end A equal to start Y. Okay. So if we're allowed to assume the ranges are well formed, so that's what we haven't incorporated in our model, right? So we should tell it that this is the case, and then it's gonna yell at us about other things. But that's what we should have done, so that the logic was correct. So let me find an example. I'm not sure how the types introduced in what's going on here. Sort int is not numeric, yeah. Why don't I get that? Why don't I get that error here? Yeah, but there it is. I don't know. That's what's bothering me, is I don't seem to have a lowercase. I don't seem to have a lowercase int anywhere. So I'm not entirely sure from going through the tutorial what the relationship is between let me call this a valid range. All right. And then all right, so that's not the problem. Do I need to do something special for dependent pairs? In F-star I did. That's what I did, didn't I? I used the really? That's what it took? Okay. I think that's a little eccentric. All right, so now we need to check. So we need to say if A less than or equal to B and C less than or equal to D, then it's nothing, just. Okay, we need to know that these are all valid ranges. Gosh, we're running an awful lot of specifications. Line. Okay. That maybe we're okay there. Let's fix it. I don't know if no, I mean, I can't say anything about it. There's our, wow. Who knew that working with ranges could be such a problem? This is quickly going off the rails. All right, let's say that. All right. No, this is dumb. How did we get into this mess? All right, we got into this mess because when I said type range equals that, then it blew up at me. So what I want to say is every range that could be created must be a valid range. I don't want to have to keep saying all right. All right. These are, so invariants are unchecked. Prove that, all right. I think this is what I want. So I want to prove that All right, so the only place to create a range is here, and that's checked. Not per specification. No, all right. Using so it's spitting out something here, but it's not telling me what it is. It says it's not provable. Which is odd because I just checked it. So one of the things I'm wondering is whether because it's just an alias that, whether that's causing problems. We're better off defining a whole new type, but yeah, so what's saying first in xinv less than or equal to second xinv, but xinv is the pair type, so it shouldn't be doing that at all. It should just be doing it for ints. I mean, do I have to create this as a data type? A new data type? Well, when I didn't have range, so I'm trying to follow the syntax in the, yeah, so the specification didn't parse when I didn't have range in parentheses. And that's what it does here, is using let's do everything in terms of our that actually help, or did it just get things wedged? It really looks like it's trying to apply the using to other sorts of pairs. Right. It shouldn't matter that a tuple intent is not. I can't believe I'm reinventing pairs just to make this work. Data. Pair was a stupid name. Yeah. Okay. Did it work? My goodness. All right. I don't like that this is the solution. I don't like it at all. But all right, so we told it what a range was. We told it put in a couple measures, then we defined an invariant in terms of those measures. And at that point, it applied that invariant to just bounds and not every pair. So I think I'm going to ask about this on the Slack of like, why can't I make a invariant that just applies to pairs of ints and not other random crap? Because that feels like a bug. Let's go filter overlaps. Oh, same problem. I'm trying to. Okay, there's got to be a Haskell way to do this. So what I need is something that looks like a function. All right, I want a A B to A times AB. I want to uncurry. Recurry. So this has to be common enough in Haskell that there's a way to do it. So can I find it? No, don't want that. I don't think that looks right. All right, I'll just write one. I didn't. All right. I feel like that ought to come up often enough that it's. All right. Is that the answer? Yes. I think I did. Yes. So, yep, both answers correct. Only an hour and 37 minutes. Okay, well, I think I learned some liquid Haskell, or at least we'll learn what did not work. Uh, I'm gonna ask about this pair thingy. That's just I'll work through a little example because I think it's applying my invariant places I didn't want it to be applied, and that doesn't seem right. Okay, what else did I run into? Let me. Oh yes, so this double colon. Why is that necessary? All right, so this is a problem with to have a copy of the this is not a very case-specific error message. All right. All right, but we got it to work. It's a victory in anybody's book. Did we prove everything? We proved the correctness of our overlaps compared to the longer set of checks. I think we have the same problem here, that we only really proved one direction. If contains returned false, then it would always be allowed to return false. So is the correct specification actually that? That doesn't type check. I don't know. I may have to think about that. Anyway, I probably should have just done a bounds type to begin with, but I thought we could work with pairs everywhere, and that is what eventually tripped us up, is the problem with proving that overlaps and overlaps long are equivalent is that it's only true when the range is well formed. When it's not, then these two tests are not equivalent. Okay, well, good night. Have a, yeah, the tuples caused surprisingly many problems today. Have a good rest of your weekend. I will be back tomorrow night with part 5. And hopefully some answers from the Haskell, the liquid Haskell Slack about about what's going on here. What don't I know? All right, good night.